sponsored by JMR Rentals, jmrny.com.
And joining me now is the legendary recording artist, Miss Gloria Gaynor. Welcome, Gloria.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate the time. It's an honor to get to meet you. I really like the movie. And, I even listened to the gospel album, and I thought it was great. I'm not a gospel guy, um, but the music was really fantastic, and you sound fantastic. I'm dying to know about this movie because it's it's an interesting, I think, part of your journey, So can you tell me, like, how did the film come about?
Well, a friend of mine knew Betsy Schechter, and I don't honestly remember which one of us had the idea, but anyway, he took me, introduced me to her, and she told me what she did, that she'd done several other documentaries, and I thought that I'd like to do it because I don't think there's anything better than you can do with your life than to share the triumphs that you've had over the difficulties that you've had, because all of us have difficulties and trials and tribulations. And if someone has overcome those things, then I don't think it's anything better that you can do than to share with other people, not only that you've done it, but how you've done it.
It seems like a very personal documentary. They really are right in there with you. Was there any apprehension on your times when I'm going to talk about revealing things, or maybe I'm not going to look like I'm stage ready at this point? Like, you know, was there any of that apprehension?
In order to be an artist, especially an on-stage artist where people are looking at you, you have to have a certain amount of ego. And so you do want to be at your best at all times. But as you go through life, if you are learning, which I think learning is only sign of life is growth. And so if you are learning and if you are growing, then you recognize that you're not the only one that's going through that. And as I said to someone earlier today, I'm not smart enough to make an original mistake. So everybody's gone through some of the things that I've gone through. And if I can use those trials and tribulations to make it easier for someone else, whether I make it so that they don't have to go through them, or I make it help them to know that they can go through them and that they can survive and come out the other side triumphant, then I don't think there's anything better I can do with my life. And so I was, as difficult as it was, I was willing, to share the things that I've gone through and how I've come through them, and that anybody can do it.
The doc is aptly named. It's not only the title of your hit song, but it's like your theme song. Having gone through what you've gone through, and I think people will get to know a lot about you that they didn't know before. I was, of course, aware of you, like I think everybody is. Everybody, kind of, there's not, especially if they're my age, they know who the Queen of Disco is, kind of thing. Were there particular things that you're excited to have people know about, or things that the documentary will reveal that might surprise folks?
Well, I think a lot of what people aren't aware of and what they will learn from the documentary is the struggles behind the scenes in the business of of music. And that there are these people who are, I call gatekeepers, who make it difficult sometimes for you to steer your own, be in charge of your own rudder, of your own, steer your own boat. And they sometimes make it difficult, and you have to try to go around that. But what I want people to recognize is that if you are walking in your purpose, then the doors that are closed will be the ones that should be closed to you, and the doors that are open will be the ones that should be open to you, because God will open those doors and steer you away from the ones that are not purposeful to your task.
So you essentially change genres, and you're recording a gospel album which I'm sure was, something that was familiar to you, but people weren't familiar with you singing that style of music. And, artists tend to get pigeonholed, especially now. Everybody's got to be like a super specialist. But to me, that's always been sort of antithetical to art, and growth. You mentioned gatekeepers. Like, there are gatekeepers in the gospel music genre. That was the biggest surprise to me, was that you had to kind of like appease the gods of gospel in order to sing God music. You know what I mean? Was that something you were aware of? Like, were you aware of that challenge, or did you kind of find out along the way?
I was aware of it, but I didn't know that it was as strong as it is. I thought that when people come to the people you were approaching, that would try to get to know you and to know, because I think that in gospel music, I understand that they don't want to allow people to represent God who don't honestly represent God, who are just trying to make a quick buck, or they didn't make it in this, so they'll try it in that because they think it's easier, or they want to appease God for a second in their life. I understand them being wary of people like that. But I know that I'm a very sincere Christian. I know that the music that I'm singing is a part of my life and is a part of my relationship with God. And so it was very disconcerting for me to be rejected, to just be rejected in that way, without even trying to get to know me, to see where I'm coming from. And so I found that very, very, very difficult.
I thought that was revealing as well. Like, just kind of it's a nice sort of glimpse into the way the world works. When you look back on this, and I don't know if you've had the chance to see it with an audience yet, if you saw it at Tribeca or some of the other festivals, but what was kind of the biggest revelation for you in it, in terms of like maybe seeing yourself a different way or having people see you? Was there an audience reaction that shocked you or anything like that?
There was audience reactions. I saw it twice with other, with an audience. Once was in Tribeca and one was in Nashville. And in Nashville, I got 3 standing ovations during the film. I was like, what? So I was really surprised to see how much um, people were impacted by the story. I expected people to be impacted, but not to the point of responding publicly. Some people might go away with things that they would add to their lives, or things that they would reveal to them about their own thoughts and feelings and way they're going about their lives or whatever. But I never expected people to react publicly the way they did, which was very, very encouraging and rewarding for me.
Was there anything that I mean, of course, you've lived your life a long time and you've been through these things, but like, was there anything either through the course of the documentary or kind of seeing your life laid out it's kind of like an episode of This Is Your Life, was there anything that you learned about you, or that was sort of like, oh, I never looked at it that way before, but now I have a perspective I didn't have before, kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah. I did not realize until I saw my life sort of encapsulated how much I had bowed to a fear of rejection, a fear of abandonment. I knew that had affected me, but I didn't know how deeply. So that was surprising for me.
As I understand, the film is going to do a one night only theatrical run.
Actually, in 900 theaters across the country on February 13th. People can find out what theater is playing it nearest them by going to gloriagaynor.com, my website.
Do you know the plans for the film after that? Are you guys going to go to streaming?
Yeah, we plan to go to streaming. We haven't determined which ones we're going to yet, but of course we will make that known.
Of course, you got the movie coming out, but what's next for you? Are you still looking forward to new music and things like that?
Oh, absolutely. I've got music in the works. I'm several songs I've written with great writers that have written with great young artists, and we're get ready to finalize those recordings and get them out there. I also have a new fragrance that is available for Galentine's Day and Valentine's Day. Galentine's Day, in case you don't know, is February 13th, the night of the day of the showing of the film. But this, my fragrance, I Will Survive, or Survive, by Gloria Gaynor.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, that one, because of course everybody knows you for "I Will Survive." That's probably one of the biggest hits like anybody's ever had, ever, basically. But now you're making your own music, and in the film you talk about like, right, because you don't own that song.
No,
I mean, people think of you'll always be synonymous with that song, but
but it isn't mine.
so what was the difference in coming out with like your own material and sort of making your own music?
Mhm. It's a great difference because you're sharing a part of yourself that you've never been able to share before. And that's very gratifying. It's great to be able to do that, whether anybody else receives it or likes it or not. But it's, of course, even better when you find that other people are liking your music and are being uplifted, encouraged, and empowered by it. That's what happened with the gospel album. I've gotten so many testimonies from so many people about the album, encouraging them and inspiring them. And so hopefully this documentary would go even further with that. And the new music will just carry on that same sort of legacy.
Fantastic. Well, I don't want to keep you because I know you've done a bunch of these today already. I really appreciate this. It was wonderful to meet you.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. God bless you.